Today, let's paint a snowman face. Here's our guideline. This is the one we're going to try to create. And this board's a bit smaller, but it will work just fine. And first, I have got some titanium white on my, this is a pouncing, large scruffy brush. This is a Donna Dewberry one stroke. And you can just paint it in round with a regular brush if you wish, but I like the texture that pouncing it in on it with a scruffy brush does. Now we're going to go and kind of make a circle with our brush. We want to leave enough space for a hat, but I think I got a little too big, so maybe we'll go this way. And that there's enough room up there for a hat. So, and you don't have to fill it in completely unless you really want to. Or I could have started maybe with a darker blue underneath, and then that would have created the shadowing rather than this blue. That was the background. And let me see, I think I lost a little hair in there from my brush, but okay, there we have his head. So I will let that dry, and then I'll come back in and draw on the hat and where I want the nose, and we'll go from there. As you can see now, I have sketched on his little eyes, his carrot nose, and his hat. And you can see where the first sketch I did I thought was too narrow, so I brought it out a little bit further. It helps to kind of sketch it out to get an idea of what it will look like. And so now I will load up my palette with I think I'll do, well, I should start from the top and work down, that way I won't get my hand in the paint that's lower down when I go to do the top. So I'll get some black and some white and some red on my palette so we can do his hat. Okay, I have some black on my palette that I'm going to start with on his hat, and you can see it there. And I have a number 10 Royal Majestic Bright, and I'm just going to load it good with black, and then I'm just going to come along here. I'll avoid the band because I'm going to have that as red, and just stroke along, come around the curve, and the black covers very well, so no issues there. And let's see, just follow the outlines. It's not too different than just coloring. Don't worry about getting the edges perfect. Now this is the top, where I'll turn it around to get, then I can't really see where the edges are, but when I go into highlight, it's no big deal. I'll just highlight where I think it should be. Okay, there's the black. I will add a little bit of white to put in the texture highlights. Let's see, I'm going to mix a little bit of, my brush is still dirty, if you can see that, and I'm just mixing in some of the white, making it kind of a gray, and it's not completely mixed in, so it's got streaks of the black, and I'm going to kind of make it swirl, streak it along there, so you get kind of a inkling of the shapes. I'm going to pull it this way so that I can pull the highlights toward me from the edge, and you can just kind of go with what you feel. I'll add a little bit more white because on the corner, very corner, because I'm going to do the top, and I'm going to do it in a swirl motion like that, so that and I got too much, so it doesn't show the lines or whatever you want to call it, little there. Let me see how it gives it a little swish there, and these edges are just a little, you can see the striations that my brush, this is an older brush, so it's not got a real good chisel edge. It's kind of You can see worn, and that kind of helps with the streakiness there. And if you get it, you think too much highlights, add a little more black and just drag it in there. And pretty much that's it. If I want a little more highlight along the brim, that's what I'll do. And I will rinse out my brush and get some red. And let's see, what color red do we want? Oh, that looks like it's a berryish type red. So let me see if I've got, oh, I've got some alizarin crimson here. Let's try that. Now, a lot of the reds are not opaque, so sometimes it would take a couple of coats. And I might want to try a smaller brush for this, so I'm going to get a number 8. This is another Royal Majestic brush. And I just load it. There's no double loading or anything here, just I load the brush in the alizarin crimson. And the brush width is about the right brush. It's right the width to just bring in your hat band. And you'll see when it hit the blue how it changed color, because it was no longer on white, because the red, as I said before, is not opaque. And I could have beforehand gone over that with white, so it would have the same color and shading. I can let it dry, go back over it with white and do the red again, and then it will have the same tone to it. While that's drying, I am going to get some orange on my palette to paint his nose. And I have first, because orange is also not very opaque, I have some Georgia clay. This is Deco Art Americana Georgia clay. It's kind of a burnt orange, but it has a depth of color that gives better coverage. And then I'll go back over it with an orangey orange. Here's the Georgia clay. Now I'm going to just do his little carrot nose, and carrots are not perfectly straight, so don't worry about if your lines are kind of waggly. The more imperfect, the better. So I just bring it up to a point. And again, you see how the blue underneath there gave it a different tone, so I'm going to have to go over it again with another orange. And, or I could, like I said, go back, do white over it, do the orange again. It might have been better to have started without putting the white as an undercoat. So, now I'm going to get some black. Or, yeah, in my brush, I'm just going to do this orange here really quick. Okay, we're going to do the eyeballs. Make sure I'm focused here for you. Hopefully I'm in here focus. Alright, whatever. Okay, now I have the same size brush. Oops, too much paint. So I have to be real careful. The eyes aren't going to be that big. They're just going to be a couple of oval shapes. Just kind of move my brush and make the ovals. Maybe a little bit rounder. And there's that. His eyeballs. And I will add, let's see, I'll rinse out the brush. And I'll get a tiny bit of white on the corner. They're not dry yet, so yeah, the highlight, I'll kind of touch it in there, highlight on his eyes. Now his eyes are definitely closer together than in the other one, but that gives him a different personality. The dark orange isn't completely dry yet. Normally I would wait till it's completely dry, but I'm going to try to go back in over with the lighter orange. I'm not going to be insistent on covering every little inch. Like the outlines are still a little bit darker orange. That's okay. Just gives it some more dimension. So there is his lighter orange on top. Now I will let that dry, and I may, no, the red's not dry enough yet for me to come back in and do the hat band again. So I will draw in some snowflakes. Then I can do the snowflakes while his nose and hat band dries. Alrighty, he's still drying, so I have got a 10-0 liner brush. This one's a low Cornell, and I've dipped it in white paint. I've watered it down just a touch so it flows really well. I don't know if you can see these, but I've drawn basically these little X's with a line through the middle, and I kind of make them a Y. My brush, just little tiny strokes, nothing perfect. And there you have a snowflake. Now this one I will do slightly different. Try to use the lightest pressure as possible so that your lines are skinnier. And then I'll just dot the tip of each line. And there's that snowflake. Looks kind of like it needs another line, huh? That looks like a jack, but you get the picture. And one more up here. And since those other two next to this one and this one are a Y, I'll do this one as a dot too. And if you want to just put little other dots in, like other little flakes. I think I have some sparkly paint. I thought it would be neat in. Little sparkles coming down. And then here's one last snowflake down here, larger size. And I'll do this one a Y one. And a few more dots. And we'll add a little bit of snow onto his hat and nose when we're done with it. So there is our wee bit of snow. Now we're going to add a little bit more texture to his nose. I have burnt umber on my palette and the same liner brush that I used to do the snowflakes. And I've got water in my brush, made the paint into like an inky consistency here. Drag my brush through it, make sure it has a point, and then I'm just going to come in and bring some texture into the carrot. And sometimes carrot has little roots come out of it. And kind of give it some lines where it has some little divots. And kind of give it some dimension back here where it comes into, or some shadowing where it comes into his face. And I rinse that brush out. I'm going back and getting my number 8 brush, and I'm going to float on some shadowing, which I'm just going to get a corner of my brush, it's wet, and get some color on it, the burnt umber. And I'm just going to kind of shadow a little bit underneath the carroty nose. Maybe a little bit along the back. It's just a faint amount of color. And it just gives them a little shadowing. I can go along underneath the hat as well to give it kind of a dimension. Now I'll come back and you'll see I did go over the band with white so that the color would be even. And I will come back in there with some alizarin crimson. Go over it one more time, which I will probably have to do it a couple times to get a good dark color, but we'll see how it goes this time. I think that white is done. So I've got color in my brush. Come along. And there is his little hat band. Okay, let's see. I'll look at him for a minute and see what else he needs, and then we'll put it on him. I had thought about maybe a little garland of leaves, but I think I'm going to go with just like he has a snowflake on his hat. And I think I'll put that in the corner. So I'm just going to draw an X. I did before, and then a line through it, and then I will make it into a snowflake. And there you have a snowflake on his hat. And let's see, well, we'll give him a little bit of snow on his nose. I have another scruffy brush. It's a smaller one. It's a 1/2 inch scruffy. And we'll just kind of touch a little bit of snow on his nose as if it's kind of piled up there. He's been out there in the snowstorm a bit. And there you have your snowman face. I have another one, and he has a bucket for a hat, which is really kind of cute. So I'll share that one another day. What would be cute? These would be cute if you had them also like on little 4x4 squares or whatever. These are just painted on a scrap piece of wood. They would be cute as coasters. You could paint the little 4x4 squares with the snowman faces, different snowman faces, and then coat them with a water-based exterior varathane so they'd be waterproof, and then they would make a great gift. I hope you enjoyed our little snowman.